GRIAS Academy.
Hello, all. Welcome to GRIS Academy and welcome back to the program Editorial Daily, where we deal with editorial analysis which enriches your perspective and enhances your answer writing. So, let's get started with our today's session. Yes, the first article for today is 5 crore Indians wait when the courts take a break. This is the main article for today. So, this is the article which raises a critical question like, can Indian judiciary afford long vacations when crores of cases remaining pending? This is what the main question from this article which we can raise. Okay, so basically the Supreme Court and High Court of India. Second, yes, the Supreme Court and High Court of India has been traditionally observed the long summer vacations. The long summer vacations. Okay, so meanwhile the vacation benches have the urgent matter. Here's the urgent matters. The regular judicial work slowdowns. So the article mainly argues that this practice delays the justice for millions of people. And the current situation is, as of end of 2025, as of end of this 2025, more than 5.39 crore cases are pending across the Indian courts. Okay, and around 4.76 crores of cases are pending in the district courts and 63.6 lakhs in high courts, and over 92,000 of cases have been pending in the Supreme Court. So many under trial prisoners remain in the jail for years and years, for sometimes longer than the sentence they would have received if convicted. Okay, this is what it is happening, the court system which is now in our India. Okay, so this reflects a famous legal principle which says justice delayed is justice denied. It says justice delayed is justice denied. This is the famous legal principle which has been saying. And why are these courts are being in vacation? Why are these court vacations being questioned? Is the article does not argue that the judges should not take any vacations or should not have any rest. In fact, the Indian judges are among is the busiest in the world and handling a numerous workload. So the concern is that most of the judges take leave simultaneously, and the court functioning reduces functionally during the vacations. So which huge backlog, the shutting down of the regular court works for several worsen cases. So worsens the delays. Okay, so the current vacation system is colonially legal, which is inherited from the British rule when the judges returned to England during the hot summer months. This is why the vacations have been given to the law judges during from the British rule. Okay, now this article also proposes few solutions for this the practical solutions for this, like staggers judicial leaves has to be there so that the courts continue functioning throughout the year, and the fill the judicial vacancies quickly, and many high court posts remain vacant till now. Okay, so filling those vacancies and all can improve the better court running, and strengthen the alternative dispute resolution through mediation, arbitration, and the lok adalat cases also, and due to and utilize the retired judges to clear the pending cases and monitor the case disposals also, and to improve the judicial administration by setting the disposal targets and increasing the accountability. These are the few suggestions or the reforms that courts can bring up with. Okay, now let us see the article in a complete detailed manner. Yes. The topic is 5 crore Indians wait when the courts take a break. This is the authors for this article is Vijay L. Kelkar, who is the vice chairman of the Pune International Center, and Pradeep S. Mehta, who is the secretary general of Kutch International. Okay. And how can we link this article to the our syllabus is for GS paper 2, we can link this article to the structure, organization, and the functions of the judiciary, judicial reforms, issues arising out of pendency of cases, and a mechanism for dispute resolution, which is the alternative dispute resolution ADR. And for GS paper 4 also we can link this topic to the ethics paper, that is the legal ethics, human rights, and the principle of justice, which is delayed in justice denied. Okay, now coming to the context of the topic, if we see the annual practice of long summer and winter recess. See, Yes, the annual practice of long summer and winter recess observed the Supreme Court and the major high courts has drawn the intense criticism due to the staggering backlog of over 5 crore cases in India. Okay, so the authors in this article basically argues that while the judicial rest is necessary, given the heavy workloads, shutting down the major operations simultaneously creates a critical systemic bottlenecks, turning the recess into a barrier to justice for millions of under trials and litigants. Okay, now when we see the low total pendency across Indian courts, how many cases have been pending as of 31st December 2025 is in district courts, almost 4.76 plus crores of cases are being pending, and in high court, 63.6 lakh plus of course cases have been pending, and in high court 92,000 plus, and total pending cases are 55.39 crores. Okay, this is what the figures which we can take out from as of December 2025. Coming to the staggering scale of pendency, why is this much of pending cases have been there in this courts is first is the backlog crisis. So as of the last day of 2025, more than 5.39 crore cases were pending across the Indian courts, as we have seen in the above session. Okay, so it is heaviest load over 30 years. Over the past 30 years, this is the heaviest load that Indian courts is experiencing. Next, the 3 century timeline. The 3 century timeline, what a government study has previously calculated that the current pace, if the current pace is being continued of disposal, clearing India's existing judicial pile would take 3 centuries. This is what a government study has been told. Okay, so at the current rate of disposal, the judicial backlog may take approximately 300 years to clear all these pending cases. Okay, now the human cost. Roughly the 3 out of 4 prisoners in Indian jails are under trials. Still in trials, they are not still convicted. Okay, who are legally presumed innocent by but serves the prison terms, but often longer than the actual sentence if they pleaded guilty. Okay, it's waiting for their cases to end. Yes, see, these are under trials waiting for justice. Out of 4 out of 3 people are under trials in Indian jail still. Okay, now what is the resist critic, what are they telling, and rebranding versus the structural continuity. When we see the first one is the colonial legacy, why is this the leaves have been taken by the Supreme Court judges and all, if we see that, and the first one is the colonial legacy. It is nothing but it is the practice of closing the courts for extensive summers and winter vacations in the colonial hand down, okay, during the British rule, simply in terms. Okay, so originally these designed for the British judges who couldn't withstand these conditions in India rather than in the British. So originally these type of vacations have been designed for the British judges who could not withstand this intense Indian summer heat and retreated to cooler climates, which is followed by lengthy winter holidays. This is what it has been following since decades. Okay, next, the next is the cosmetic fix of 2024. What is this? Before the old practice, the summer vacation would take approximately 190 days per year. But after 2024 changes, this partial court workings have been come up, and approximately 190 days per year only it has been taking. There's been no change in it after taking the reform also after 2024. Okay, so in 2024, the Supreme Court has renamed this summer vacation to partial court working days. Okay, so however, the actual number of the sitting days remained unchanged at roughly around 190 days per year. Okay, so a litigant whose case is stuck cannot be satisfied by the cosmetic rebranding. They require the functional case disposal. Okay. Yes. Coming to the simultaneous versus the staggered rest, what does it means? The issue is not that judges take leave. Like Indian judges are acknowledged as one of the most busiest and overloaded working in globally. So, but they take in it an n messes. So all together, like not only if one judge is going on leave, it's not that another judge replaces it. All the judges take the leave simultaneously. together. So while hospitals, police stations, and markets operate so continuously without the using the shift rotations, the judicial goes quiet for over 6 weeks every summer. Isn't it that very good to do that? This is what the article is mainly questioning about. It is not that the judges shouldn't take any leave. Okay, so en masse rest takes the major problem, and the staggered rest gives us the solution for it. So justice delivery should be continuous, not seasonal. Okay, yes. Coming to the deconstructing counter and the arguments and the vacancy sideshow, which we can see, and the arguments basically comes up with the vacancy objection in the high courts and supreme courts. So the standard defense for this court closure is that the real issue is the judicial vacancies, with up to a third of high court seats which are remaining the empty rather than vacations. Okay, so the main argument states that many seats are vacant in the high court. The root cause is the shortage of judges, not the vacations. This is what the article is mainly arguing about. And the boomerang effect, what is happening in the boomerang is, if the judiciary is already running at the half strength, thinning the court capacity further by closing down for 6 weeks every summer worsens the crisis, obviously, rather than defending it. Okay, now coming to the response, what is the response is, basically we can tell, by filling the vacancies depends on the long term cooperation between the government and the collegium, and also fixing the calendar requires only the judiciary's own institutional will, and hence vacations should not be an excuse to the perpetuate delay. Okay, yes, and justice delayed due to both vacancies and vacations is justice denied, which we can say. Okay, now coming to the key takeaway from this article, which we see, the ultimate goal is not to deny the justice their well deserved rest, but to ensure that the courts are national institutions which stop closing ranks and falling the silent at the same time. Falling silent at the same time. For over 5 crore citizens, justice cannot be put on vacation. Okay? Yes, this is the main key takeaway from this article. And when we see the way forward for this article, or the proposed reforms, which we can say, the first is the institutionalizing the staggered leaves. Like a parliamentary standing committee of 2023, the law commission, and the justice Malimat committee have all recommended the rotating judicial reviews. All these committees have recommended the rotating judicial reviews, so that the court can work for all the time. Okay, and benches should remain full throughout the year by building a rolling roster. Okay, similar to medical staff management, which have been taking place in nowadays. Okay, the goal is to continuous functioning of courts without the with the optimum bench strength of all year round. Okay, now what is the impact of it? The impact is mainly no institutional shutdowns. It reduces the delay for the litigants and the under trials, and ensures the timely access to justice. Okay, next. The next one we can see is offloading the courtroom via ADR infrastructure. Offloading the courtroom with a ADR infrastructure. Like, court should not be the first stop for every dispute, but the last. It should be the last. It should not be the first. So Lok Adalat settle more than 2.5 crore cases in a single national sitting the last December, and over 23.5 crore cases over a last 3 years of period. The Lok Adalat has been clearing the cases. And the next is Medallion Act 2023. This promotes the pre-litigation settlement, and the robust commercial arbitration can take business disputes completely out of the courts. Okay, yes. And what is the key ADR channels in India is, first is the Lok Adalat, which the mass settlements of the of pending cases will be done in the Lok Adalats, and mediation, that is pre-litigation cases where amicable settlements before entering the courts. And next is the arbitration. What is this? Is nothing but a private adjustment. It is a private adjudication which of commercial disputes. And however, these channels remain severely under underutilized, and requires more active policy push and awareness. Okay, yes. What is the impact of getting this offloading the courtrooms with the ADR infrastructure is it reduces the burden on the courts mainly, and faster the dispute resolution, and cost effective and relationship preserving mechanism can be there, and encourages a culture of settlement. Okay, next, the next is mobilizing a dedicated corps of retired judges. What is it? How can we use the retired judges of Supreme Court or High Court or anything? India underutilizes the vast reservoir of experience. Obviously, the retired judges have vast knowledge than anyone. So, India is underutilizing the vast reservoir of the experience which held the retired judges who stepped down at 62 or 65 years of age. Okay, so, beyond heading the tribunals, a dedicated corps of former judges could be invited to take up a single targeted charge. Okay, and the suggested roles would be identify the specific case bottlenecks, to set up public targets for their disposal, and openly account for the process and outcomes. Okay, next, what is the impact of using this retired judges and all? It leverages the experience and the integrity. It accelerates the disposal of the old and stuck cases and restores the public trust in the justice system. Okay, yes. When we take a few key terminologies from this article, first is the vacation benches. What are these vacation benches? This is a small temporary judicial setup which has a 3 to 4 benches instead of a full courtroom, that functioning during a court is on leave to her executively urgent pleas. Okay, next, what is the under trial prisoner crisis? It is nothing but a systemical criminal justice failure where the individuals are detained in the jail custody for for the protracted periods before their trials are completed. Okay, next, what is en masse res? En masse res is it is an operational shutdown of an institution. It is an operational shutdown of an institution, either it be a police station, either it be a hospital, either it be a court or anything. So, the operational shutdown of any institution where the entire staff of the judiciary goes on leave simultaneously, which is pending regular public service delivery. Okay, which is suspending the regular public service delivery. Next, staggered or rota based leave system. What is this staggered or rotational based leave system? Is it is a scheduling framework where the leaves are rotated among the persons to ensure the institution remains operational within the optimum bench strength year round. Okay, next, the next is pre-litigation mediation. What is it? It is a dispute resolution mechanism which is mediated by a frameworks like the Mediation Act of 2023, which is requiring the practices to attempt amicable settlement before entering the court. This is what the pre-litigation mediation is, and these are the few key terminologies which we can take up from the article. Now, the key takeaway from this is the ultimate object is not to deny the judges their well-deserved rest, but to ensure that the courts as national institutions which stop closing ranks and falling silent at the same time for over 5 crore citizens. Okay, justice cannot be put on vacation. This is what we have to learn. Okay, yes. Moving on to the next article. Yes, the next article for today is basically about an state in India, which is about Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh and the next El Nino challenge. Okay, so this article explains how the possible return of this El Nino could test the Andhra Pradesh preparedness, especially in terms of heat waves, rainfall deficit, agriculture, and the disaster management. Okay, so basically, what is El Nino? El Nino is nothing but a climate phenomena. It is a climate phenomena which is caused by the warming of surface waters in the central and eastern Pacific Ocean, basically in the Pacific Ocean, eastern and central Pacific Ocean. So it alters the global weather patterns, and India often leads to the below normal monsoonal rainfalls and severe heat waves, water scarcity and the agriculture losses. We are facing El Nino now. Okay, so this article basically highlights that Andhra Pradesh may once again face the challenge if a strong El Nino develops. Okay, what is the current situation in Andhra Pradesh now is basically in Andhra Pradesh it is experiencing intense heat waves with temperatures which are crossing around 48 degrees in some places, and this India Meteorological Department IMD has warned for another strong El Nino to Andhra Pradesh, which is the third major El Nino challenge in the last decade after the 2015 and 2023. 2015 and 2013 are the two cases when the Andhra Pradesh has hit with very bad El Nino. Now it is back with 2026. Okay, so this will be the third major El Nino challenge. Okay, so this article reminds us that in 2015 the severe heat waves which caused thousands of deaths, promoting the creation of Andhra Pradesh Disaster State Disaster Management Authority. Till then there is no any specific disaster management authority for Andhra Pradesh. Due to this 2015 El Nino effect, the Andhra Pradesh has promoted to develop a Andhra Pradesh State Disaster Management Authority. Okay, so how this El Nino will impact the monsoons means the southmost monsoon is circular, is very crucial for Andhra Pradesh when we see. So according to this article, the rainfall during this early monsoon period has become below normal, not normal, below normal, and the most districts have reported the rainfall deficits, and annual rainfall is expected to be significantly lower than the this long term average. So this could lead to water shortages and the reduced groundwater recharge and lower reservoir levels and drought like conditions. Okay, and how can it impact the agriculture means agriculture is the worst affected sector when we come to El Nino, when it is during the El Nino condition. Okay, so this article also mandates the notes that many mandals have already been experienced in this drought conditions, and lakhs of farmers are suffering crop loss during the previous El Nino years, and the reduced rainfall can affect the crop productivity, the farm income, and the rural employment. Okay, so the government has advised the farmers to shift towards the drought resistant crops than using the high water resistant crops, which follows the weather based agricultural advisories and adopt the climate resilient farming practices. This is what the government is telling the farmers. However, these implementations and the recommendations effectively remains a challenge also. Okay, now let us see this article in a complete detailed manner. Yes, the topic is AP and the next 10 challenge. Okay, and the author is Nellore Shravani. Okay, so when we see the syllabus, how can we link this article to our syllabus? Is for GS paper 1, that is important geographical phenomenon, that is specifically about the El Nino changes in critical geographical features and the effect of such changes. And for GS paper 3 also we can link this article to disaster and distress management and heat waves, droughts, and for agriculture, major crops and cropping patterns in various parts of country, and the e-technology in the aid of farmers. Okay. Yes. When we see the context of the topic, Andhra Pradesh is confronting a severe climate change which is marked by the intense heat waves and the massive monsoon rainfall deficit. While this meteorologist has warning of a high likelihood of another strong El Nino effect, the state agriculture resilience and the disaster management architecture are being put on a rigorous test. Okay, in 2025 monsoon snapshot, which we see in from 1st June to the 11th of July, actual rainfall should be is at 86.2 mm, but the normal rainfall should be 149.1 mm, but the rainfall has deficited to 42.2 percentage, and 26 out of 28 districts have been affected with this deficited rainfall due to El Nino conditions. Coming to the historical background of this El Nino effect, when we see this defining the threshold, this thing, when a sea surface temperature in the Pacific Ocean basically rises beyond the 2 degrees centigrade, it is classified as a very strong El Nino event, where which is the events which have been occurred in from 1951 to 2025 is only 4 times the strong El Nino effect has been come up, that is during the 1972, 1982, 2015 and 2025. This is overall out of 75 years. In this 20 75 years of time, 4 times only this strong El Nino effect has been come up. Okay, now coming to the vulnerability matrix, if we see, it is the third time in the decade which is following 2015 and 2023, the Andhra Pradesh disaster preparedness is facing an El Nino induced crisis. Okay, see, repeated climate shocks which has demanded the stronger resilience and adaptive governance. Okay, now next is the 2015 catalyst. What happened? The severe 2015 El Nino event, which has caused at least 2,300 heat wave deaths across the India. So within Andhra Pradesh alone, it is accounting for 1,369 fatalities during 2015 due to strong El Nino effect. Okay, so this tragedy led to the establishment of the Andhra Pradesh State Disaster Management Authority (APSDA-MA). Okay, so the current, when we see the current crisis which has been happening, is the extreme heat realities. So in May, during daytime temperatures, it raised to 44 degrees centigrade for 9 consecutive days continuously. So a peak high of 48.3 degrees centigrade. Okay, next, even in the July, the IMD has issued the active heat wave alerts for Andhra Pradesh for few districts. Okay, next is the stark rainfall deficit. It is nothing but the actual rainfall from 1st June to 11th July 2025. When we see, 86.2 mm has been recorded. So normal rainfall should be 149.1 mm, but it has been deficited to 42.2 percentage. Which is 26 out of 28 districts had received the deficient or the largely deficited rainfall. Okay, now coming to the historical deviations, how long it is? Nothing but a long period average rainfall of 858 mm has been to there. So this year projections for 690 mm only, not at least 858, but it is reduced to 690 mm, which is deviation of 20 percentage, double the negative deviation in the recent El Nino years, which ranged between 4 percentage and 11 percentage. Okay, now when we see the agricultural perspective, there are very much vulnerabilities in agriculture and the rural economy. In that, the past scars which we see, the immediate impact of the monsoonal failure and lands on the farming community during the 2023 El Nino cycles, 54 mandals were declared the drought hit, and at least 6.9 lakh farmers suffered crop losses across 103 mandals in India. Okay, now coming to the structural flaws in agricultural advisories, which we can see is the state agricultural department issues crop alerts, which is based on broad agroclimatic zones. However, these experts have flagged the haphazard clubbing of areas with entirely different geographical and social characteristics. So the structural mismatch means that the official advisory often fails to align with the empirical ground reality of the individual farmers. Okay, now cropping reorientation challenges. What is this cropping reorientation challenges? Is the government of Andhra Pradesh had advised the rain-fed regions like Rayalaseema to shift towards the drought-hardy crops to tide over the moisture crisis. So, however, the systemic doubts remain to be regarding the actual economic willingness and the resource capacity of farmers to transition away from the traditional crops. Okay, now what is the impact of doing all this? Is it deepens the agrarian disaster and the rural indebtedness, and weakens the food system resilience and slows down the rural income growth and the consumption, and worsens the farmer vulnerability to future climatic shocks. Okay, now coming to the way forward, which we can see, and the government response in that, strengthening the decentralized early warning system. It is nothing but a critical operational directive which is issued by the Disaster Management Ministry, which highlights the need to disseminate the precise weather and climate information down to the village level to minimize the crop damage, and to ensure that these localized real-time weather advisories actually reach the smallholders, which remains a weak link that requires the immediate digital fixes. Okay, next, the next point is consolidating the success of heat stroke mitigation. Like, see, on a positive note, Andhra Pradesh has successfully internalized the hard lesson of the 2015 tragedy. Okay, so by implementing the robust heat action plans, the state has drastically cut heat stroke deaths down to 3 in 2020-23. Okay, 2023. So the structural model of this public health tracking must now be replicated for the agricultural drought relief also. Okay. Now, when we see up the key terminologies for examination which we can take up from this article is very strong El Nino effect. What is it? Raising the Pacific ocean temperature to just 2 degrees centigrade, a significant climate anomaly which is triggered within the sea surface temperatures in equatorial Pacific Ocean surge, which is more than 2 degrees centigrade above the long term average, which is routinely disrupting the global monsoons. Okay, this is what you call very strong El Nino event. Next is long period average LPA rainfall. What is it? It is the benchmark metric which is calculated by the IMD representing the average rainfall which is recorded over a specific region over a multiple decadal period over usually 50 years. Use it to gauge the monsoonal deficits or the surpluses. Okay. Now, agroclimatic zonal mismatch. What is it? It is a governance bottleneck where the generalized agricultural advisories are applied across a massive geographical zone which is falling to account for and which are failing to account for hyperlocal variations in soil moisture, topography, and the microclimates. Okay, next, drought hardy cropping patterns. What is it? It is nothing but altering the agricultural practices to favor the climate resilient and low water consuming crops such as the millets or pulses in the arid or the rain fed regions to protect the farmers against the monsoonal failures. Okay, these are the few key terminologies which we can take up from this article. The next key takeaway which we can take up from this article is building the climate resilience is not just about forecasting the skies but also strengthening the systems that secure every farmer's tomorrow. Okay? Yes. Yes, these are the two articles for today that El Nino effect in Andhra Pradesh and the court having 6 weeks of long leave, shutting down all the responsibilities and all. These are the two editorials which we have seen, which is very important for the examination. I hope everyone liked this video. To get a detailed PDF of it, do visit our website and download it from there. And do like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more editorial analysis. And do follow our Instagram channel and the Telegram channel as well for your UPSC preparations. And all the links are provided in the description below. And yes, I'll see you all tomorrow with an editorial analysis. Thank you.